Alright, what's up? We have to put front pads and rotors on this 2005 Malibu. That's what we're going to do today, so let's just fucking do it. So first, we're going to break these fuckers loose. In this car, I want to put the jack stand on this pinch weld right here. So to get this up far enough and still be able to get the jack stand under there, we're going to go way back here to like that big fat frame rail right there. That's where we're going to jack the car up from, and we're going to put the actual stand on this weld right here.
That's big marshmallow is the problem.
Yes.
So keep doing it, man. Push on it. Keep going. Keep pushing. Alright, now quit fucking around. I jacked it up from that big fat beefy metal back there, and then I used this part to put the jack stand. Also want a block of wood. Now you remove the lug nuts. Remember, we already loosened them before. Alright, next. Well, that's next. I don't know if anyone else has ever done a video on this car, and to be honest, I'm not going to research it. I really don't give a fuck. I'm doing it. That's the bottom line. So we're doing shit my way. My way's different than what you may see in other places. We're going to take this guy off. We're going to spray him with a little bit of slippery stuff. Take my pinch off tool. I'm just going to pinch off this rubber hose so I don't lose all my brake fluid. I have a 6.10 millimeter wrench. So the reason for loosening this screw, and the reason it's very important, is when I push this caliper piston back in, I don't want fluid going back up here. This is a GM, well, Chevy, GM, whatever. It has ABS brakes. I've just learned over the years, if it's got ABS brakes, don't force fluid backwards like this when you're doing a brake job. If it's Ford or Honda or whatever, who gives a fuck? You don't have to agree with it. I really don't care your opinions on it. It's just the way I do it. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to loosen up the caliper bolts here. I'm going to break both of the caliper bolts loose first before pulling either of them out. So just go ahead, get them both loose, and then pull them both out. I'm also going to wiggle this caliper loose too. Pull him up out of there. You can just take this old ass brake pad out of here that somebody said this thing needed brakes, but you can tell there's nothing really wrong with it. I don't know what the deal is with that. What's happening here is as I twist this, fluid's going to come out of that little valve. You'll notice I got a pan down there because this stuff's kind of nasty. I want to make sure that I can turn this piston in real easy. I shouldn't have to force it. I shouldn't have to like put a bar on here and to force it in. So with the caliper piston compressed, I take this C-clamp off. You can kind of see the little rubber got tweaked a little bit right here. No big deal. Just pop him back into place. I'm going to go ahead and also tighten up that bleeder screw. I'm not going to go crazy with it because I do have to crack it open again later. So now what I got to do is I got to get this caliper bracket off. Just slap this guy out of here. Again, nothing really wrong with him, not sure what the deal is. We got lucky here, the rotor just slid off. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, you gotta take a hammer and really smack the fuck out of it. Bang Mr. Rotor off of here too. This is a little thing I've had for a long time. I think it's an old idler pulley. I just use him to help hold the rotor on. That way the rotor's not flapping all around, getting in trouble. So I'll just take a little bit of this brake cleaner. This is what holds the brake pads. I just take a little toothbrush, clean these up a little bit, just knock all the shit off of there. Now the brake pads that I got, they came with these new clips. Most people, they're gonna tell you to replace them whenever you do the brake service. I'm not gonna tell you to do that. I find, these clips are in there, they're not going anywhere, they're not broken, there's no reason to replace them. The problem is that when you replace them, a lot of times the new clips, they just don't have the same bite into the bracket. These things are flap-doodling around, they can make noise, they can scrape up against the rotor, they can just get in all kinds of trouble. So the best thing to do is don't fuck with it. Now these things are the caliper slides. I just keep doing a little evaluation. This one's really stiff. It's kind of hard for me to move them back and forth. This guy seems to be okay. This is kind of what I would like to see. You pull these pins out. You have this brake and caliper grease that I'm using. Put it back in. I mean, look, that thing is moving nice. Now, compare it to this one. He's a little bit stuck. A little bit of butt head. There's not really any grease on here. So again, slap a little bit of grease on this caliper slide pin. Now look at this. Already, this thing moves a lot more freely. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of grease here in the caliper bracket clips. This is where the brake pads sit in the bracket. Go ahead and get the bracket back on. Same deal. I'm just going to start both of the bolts first. I don't know the torque spec for these bolts, so I'm just going to just snug them by feel. That's pretty freaking tight. Just be glad I edited out all those kazoos. So I've got my new pad just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put him on the inside. Well, what you didn't hear me say, thanks to the kazooing, was I compared the old pads to the new ones so I knew which way the little squealers go. There's no way I can keep track with stuff like that. Every car's different. So all I do is just compare the old ones to the new ones, and that's how I put them back together. Here I'm going to go through the caliper itself and put a little bit of grease anywhere there's going to be contact between the caliper and the pads. So that includes the face of the piston and also the backside where the outboard pad rests up against the caliper. And go ahead and get this caliper back up on here. Here's another thing. I don't know the torque specs for them. I'm just going to snug them, make sure they're tight. I'm not going to kill them. I don't have like a big 1/2-inch breaker bar on it. Just a little 3/8 ratchet. So, since we did mess with the brake bleeder, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bleed this thing out a little bit. Alright, go ahead, pump it up. Huh?
Now glowing lipstick goes in the dark.
You on it? I'm going to go ahead and take my little rotor holder off. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put the wheel back on. I'm just going to snug the lugs up while it's still up in the air. Not going to go crazy, just get them tight enough so they'll support the weight of the vehicle. Lift the car back up, get that stand out of there, drop her down, and then I'm going to torque the lugs to 100 foot-pounds. We still got to top the brake fluid off in this thing and go for a ride. We're just going to fill up the master cylinder with some brake fluid. Right there is the maximum line, might be hard to see. See, a lot of people they don't watch all my videos, so it's like I gotta repeat myself sometimes. Like, I just put brakes on the car. The first 3 stops, I'm just gonna casually coast from like 25 down to, you know, nothing. Doubt if you'll ever see another Chevy Malibu video again, but you never know. What you gonna do?
Fuck boy.